waddles across the lobby, waddles up to the concierge, and it says, "That's okay. Put it on my bill."
Wah, wah.
Yeah, I've been saving that one up for years. I should have kept that, really, shouldn't I? Yeah. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Digital Download. Again, another week, another story, and today we're talking about the creator economy. How can you be part of the creator economy if you're afraid to create? If you're an introvert, how do you be an extrovert for the sake of your visibility and your profile and engaging with that global audience that these networks provide us with? This is a really important thing for us to really wrap our heads around. Partly because when you start to create content, you gain phenomenally so much visibility, because I think that only 3% of the active users on LinkedIn regularly publish content, which means that if you're one of the 3%, you're very much in the minority and very much more visible than your counterparts that aren't. So there's a huge amount to be said for really biting the bullet and trying to create content of your own. Anyway, this is the Digital Download. What is it, Rob?
The longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live.
Marvelous. You should do a little soundbite of that, really, for the show, shouldn't you?
Yes.
We need a jingle of you doing it.
we do. Like, I'm loving it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, now we've just been in copyright violation. We're going to hear from their lawyers.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Anyway, let's all introduce ourselves. First of all, Tim.
Yes, I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite.
Tracy, not last.
I know. Thanks, Rob.
This time.
Rob switched me, so I wasn't at the bottom. Hello, everyone. I am Tracy Borson, founder of TLB Coaching and Events, where sales and marketing optimization is all we do and not just something that we talk about. And I am a proud partner of DLA Ignite.
Marvelous. Jordan.
Hello everyone, I'm Jordan Abbott, B2B social influence and interaction advisor at Supero and a proud DLA Ignite partner.
Alex.
Also a proud partner of DLA Ignite. Alex Abbott, founder of Supero. Hello all.
Jensen.
Hi all, Jensen Abbott here, B2B social interaction and influence coach, and also a proud partner of DLA Ignite.
Rob.
Hey all, Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results. We help startups scale, and we are also a proud DLA Ignite partner.
And last, but very definitely least, myself. I'm co-founder of DLA Ignite and Tim's business partner. So welcome to everybody. Already loads of messages coming in and comments. Thank you very much indeed for that.
I want to bring this one up right away.
I
if you don't mind.
like Phil's, yeah.
Yeah, really good point. I hate the term creator economy.
Let's read it off so that those just listening in their car might be able to gather it as well. Hello, peeps. Hope you're having good Fridays. Here's a thought starter. Who else hates the term creator economy? Feels to me a little bit too much like the influencer economy, where the objective seems to be more about fame and less about
Making a difference.
Making a difference. Thank you.
Yeah, very good point.
Good point.
Very good point. I think that it's one of those terms that's become quite kind of hackneyed and overused, hasn't it? It's like people talk so much about personal brand, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't use the term personal brand, but personal brand has become one of those ubiquitous things that you hear everywhere. And, at one end of the scale, you've got people who genuinely value craft a profile which is compelling and a footprint which draws people in. And at the other end, you've got people that say, well, you just post stuff. And actually, they're all personal brand coaches. And I think that the creator economy is a bit like that as well, isn't it? So what is the creator economy?
Good question.
Well,
Rob, do you have a definition for this?
Yeah.
I feel like you do.
I mean, two simple words, but take them in reverse order. Economy driving revenue through creation, through making content. So to me, it's the creator part that is critically important. If you are posting something, but it has no value to anyone that is reading it, did you really? I mean, it's like that tree falling in the woods. Did it make a sound? If you're posting vacuous content, did you create anything?
Oh, can I just say that my post yesterday has like 14 views and no likes and no comments. So get on it, guys. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that like I created that, right? I created it. It was unique thoughts that came out of a conversation that I was having with someone else, and it didn't resonate with anybody yet. That now, I think does that mean it has no value? I think this is where people come into being afraid to create, right? Because if I looked at it and they're like, oh no, I have nothing useful to say, I'm never going to say anything else again, then yeah, it could have that impact. But I think just looking at it from a external validation view of did this create value is a little bit, especially on a single post level, a little bit too judgy on yourself.
Well, it is, Tracy. It's you're basically passing judgment, and everybody's view of what value is a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what Jensen and Jordan and you think are value, but you'll get 4 different answers. And I think it's too easy. It's too easy to pass judgment and say this is just rubbish. There's a lot of people out there spending a lot of time creating things that never existed before. And just like when we moved from, in a musical perspective, when the Beatles came out and they started writing their own songs, previously the songs were basically written by songwriters. And people rubbished it, saying, well, why can these people that basically, know nothing, they're not musicians, how can they actually create something? Well, they kind of did. And I think one of the things that we have to do is stop being judgmental about people and actually recognizing people for what they are. It may not be something that I like, but if they're getting likes and comments, then other people do like it.
I think the other thing is that the likes and comments are a really powerful thing for you to be able to unlock conversations within your network. But a lot of the challenge is that sometimes your content, like you said, Tracy, it hasn't resonated with anyone yet, really. Sometimes you have a bad day. You produce a piece of content that you're confident. I mean, I've done it hundreds of times. Produce a piece of content I'm confident it's going to be brilliant. And I could literally watch the tumbleweeds blowing past as people actively ignored what it was that I'd posted. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. What it means is that particular thing maybe doesn't have as much direct value or immediate value to you as some others. But it all helps to build that presence that you have online. One post that gets 1,000 likes and then no other posts in your entire career means that you have a limited amount of stuff to say. Whereas a constant stream, daily posts, sharing your expertise, what you've learned, actually do. And some of those will get traction and get fame, and others won't. But I think the other thing is that often, we are treading our own path. We're doing something which is different to other people even in our own industry. I don't mean us at DLA Ignite. I mean us, as business people. And sometimes the market isn't ready, or the people that you're trying to talk to are not receptive to what it is that you're saying. I mean, one of the funniest things to read is the critics' reviews of the first performance of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. often regarded as being the high point of musical creation in the history of mankind. And the critics' reviews were, this was a dreadful cacophony. You know, I ran screaming from the auditorium with my hands over my ears because I couldn't bear it anymore. Simply that it was different to something that they'd heard before. And I think that's true for all of us. And I think that often the content that I think you said something the other day, Tim, that you've got a comment on something that you posted like 4 years ago. Because sometimes it shows up because someone else has commented on it, or because someone has searched for it and that particular page has been found. So we've no idea of the longevity of these things that we're putting out in the public domain.
Is that another thing that you think makes people afraid, though? I've heard that too, or like, once I put it out there, it's out there forever. So am I going to think that forever? So I'll just keep it to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately, you know, if you are competent at what you do, you have to tell people about that. Whether you tell the world or you tell an individual in a pitch situation, you have to tell the world about that. So you have to be confident enough to know that you are able to deliver or talk about what it is that you're selling. Because if you're not, then actually you shouldn't be doing that thing in business. If you're selling something that you don't understand and don't know and are not competent, you know, you owe it to the world to do something else with your life. But given that you have some experience, you have some talent, you have something to offer in terms of what it is that you're doing, then most people that I've ever interacted with are confident enough to be able to position that. But when they see themselves as a media thing, you know, I've got to write something, or worse still, I've got to record a video of this, you can see the terror in their eyes. And ultimately, it is something that increasingly, as people consume content on social platforms and consume content digitally, it's something that everybody has to be able to do.
Yeah, I do think there's a huge opportunity for those people that don't have the confidence to put stuff on social media, but do have the confidence to create things that are good, you know, or that they enjoy doing because they love it. You know, my wife's the perfect example of this. She, you know, she loves art. She's got a passion for art. She's kind of found a bit of a, you know, this thing she really enjoys, which is painting art, you know, pictures onto jackets, onto denim jackets. And, you know, trying to encourage her to do a LinkedIn post about that yesterday. You know, she was scared, and then spent several hours yesterday checking to see how many likes it got, and was really disheartened after only seeing 3 likes. So, you know, like Tracy said, guys, can you get on it?
Thanks, Jordan, by the way.
Yeah. But it's, you know, there's a real fear. I think her work's brilliant, but she doesn't think it's good enough to post.
I think, Alex, and I think that's is terrible, because if you look at the LinkedIn bubble, 99% of the people that will look at it and comment will actually say nice things. And the 1% of people that basically, and the wonderful thing about social media is that you are in complete control. So the moment that 1% basically says something nasty, you just block them. It takes seconds.
Yeah.
And life goes back to normal, other than 99% of the people saying nice things. And that's just, and she's in control of that.
But does this come down to then confidence at the end of the day? Because I also feel like confidence in an individual capacity can exist in specific scenarios, but not specific scenarios. Like Alex, when your wife is creating, like actually in the process of creating, she's probably pretty confident in what she's doing. She's just not confident, like her presence on LinkedIn isn't confident, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear, and I know like Jensen is pretty new in the creator economy, so I'd love to hear your perspective, Jensen, but like moving from that, like I do have confidence in what I do, but I haven't successfully put it out there before. And how do you get started on the journey and just, I don't know, do it scared?
Yeah, I mean, great point there, and to what I could add there is two things. The first thing that links to the topic that we're talking about, but also work in general and outside of work, is comparison is the thief of joy. So comparing yourself to other people, like if I was to compare myself to Alex, I wouldn't be posting. I'll tell you that now. The amount of engagement that he gets, the interactions, everything to do with the impressions. If I was to compare myself to Alex, I wouldn't be posting today, or anyone else on the webinar. I wouldn't be doing it. Second thing I would say is we are our own worst enemy. We create our self-doubt. We put ourselves down. We eliminate our positive voice inside our head, and we let that evil devil come inside and put us down, right? So we actually stop doing what we want to do. Where if we flip that, if we stop comparing ourselves to others and actually compare ourselves to how we were yesterday, you'll soon realize if I make that 0.1% increase or increase in productivity each day, I'm going to get to where I need to be. It's realizing it's the small step each day that's going to get you to your goal, instead of you sitting there thinking, oh my God, I've got to make a video. I'm awful at this. I can't do it. All you're doing is you're putting yourself further away from your goal. So that's kind of the tips that I would give. Also, stop judging yourself, right? Stand in the mirror and look at yourself and actually let that positive voice in your head come back. Start gaslighting yourself. Start telling yourself you are good at your job. You're going to make good videos. If you start speaking positive to yourself, you're going to grow your confidence.
Fantastic.
Okay, so that was the digital download. Thank you.
You nailed it, Jensen.
Yeah.
Oh, so many thoughts there, though. First of all, in terms of confidence building, it sounds counterintuitive, but here's something that can help with confidence building. Nobody cares. Nobody really cares what you have to say. I mean, they do and they don't, but the worst thing that can happen is nothing happens. So you try something else.
Well, you have to work so hard to build an audience, don't you? And that's the thing, So when your wife Alex posted, she doesn't post very often, and consequently, people they don't know who she is. And they're not looking out for her posts. So to get to the point where you go from getting a handful of likes to getting loads of likes on something requires a combination of diligence, regular posting, constantly putting yourself out there and taking risks. But it also requires an element of luck. I mean, there's a guy, and maybe everybody watching the show will have seen this. So we worked a couple of years ago, we did some work with a company called Telstra, who are the Australian telco. And we trained some of the salespeople in the organization. And one of them in particular, and I will mention him because he's done a fantastic job, a guy called Daniel Rendell. Absolutely brilliant, really diligent about connecting with people. And he always gets a reasonable amount of engagement on his posts, so he'll get 10 likes or 20 likes or 30 likes. Occasionally he'll get 50 likes or 100 likes. Anyway, 2 months ago, he posted a picture because he's moved from London and he now lives in the West Country, and he travels in from Exeter Station. Exeter is where Penguin Books was founded. So he took a photograph of a Penguin book vending machine, which is on the platform at Exeter Station. And as of this very moment, that post has received 37,264 likes. He's had over 5 million views on this post.
Wow.
And the reason that he's achieved that is because he's constantly on the lookout for interesting things. He tells a really good story around these things, and he does it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And he might have got that with the first post he ever did. It's unlikely. Or he might have got it with the millionth post he ever did. And he was lucky that he did. And what's really interesting is that just happened to be the right thing at the right time in the right place to get that degree of traction. And if you look at his posts, you can see that was a new type of post that he's done. And every post he's done subsequently has followed that kind of format. But none of the posts he's done subsequently have had that degree of success. So just being in the right place at the right time is really interesting. Yes, absolutely, Robert. But joking aside, I think that one of the things, and Tim is very good about saying the thing that he says to us all internally in meetings, more than anything else, is there's a blog in that, meaning that thing that you're talking about, that thing that you're animated about, the thing that you care about, someone else will care about as well. So capture that and put that out there, because you might find somebody that's your soulmate about book vending machines or whatever it is, and that person can become a champion of yours. And I think that one of the challenges that we all face is that when we have these good ideas, further to Jensen's point, we think, actually, I won't share that because no one's interested. Or we think about that wonderful vista that we saw, and then we get home and go, I should have photographed that and posted that on a social network. But I didn't, did I? So, we've all of us got phones in our hands. We've all of us got the ability to capture these things when we see them, interesting things, funny things, shocking things, and post them. And the difference is some do and some don't, but we all need to, don't we?
Yeah.
Do we all need to? Because I feel like if we had 8 billion people doing that, it would be a little overwhelming. I think one of the benefits of the creator economy is that it's not all people, right? And I don't think that all people feel called to participate in the conversation that way. I think that the more important thing to look at is if you feel drawn, if you feel like you want to participate in the conversations, you want to create conversations, but you're not, then this is really where there's a potential opportunity for you. You feel like creating, but you're not doing it. So let's look at why. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're having this show today, right? So we can explore all the reasons why people don't, so that maybe you can. And maybe you try it and maybe you hate it, right? Like, I think this is also a potential thing. I try to think about my husband creating. He always tells me, you use LinkedIn really differently than I do. Because he's in corporate and it's still very much the this is a resume. I connect with people I know, right? I connect with vendors or coworkers. I don't connect with strangers. And I connect with strangers all the time. But it's because I feel like maybe there's something we might have in common. And I don't believe in having too many friends. So I think there's kind of those two different things. I feel like I always come back to this point, actually, in almost all of our conversations is this actually for everybody? Who is it for? And if it's for you, then how can we move past the fear to make sure that the people who want to create are creating?
Well, I think, first of all, do people understand that this is something they should could do? Because is this something for you, or is this something for me? So,
I think that when we go down that route, what happens is that you immediately give yourself the excuse not to do it,
right? Because
this is for extroverts. This is for people that basically want to stand up and talk about themselves. And we're back to the creator economy is all about people that are basically standing up, talking about themselves and how great they are. And if we take and shift that and say, what's important to our company? Revenue and growth. Should we be posting on social media? Well, if you don't, you're invisible. Therefore, you don't get revenue and growth. Is that therefore important that we should be posting on social media? Maybe. So we need to make sure that I agree that 8 million people posting on social media might not work, but it ain't going to happen. But from a perspective of saying, do I need to be in front of my customers? Do I need to be seen to be the natural choice with my customers? Do I need to be building relationships with prospects? Yes. That means every single salesperson should be posting on social media. If they're not, it's an act of self-sabotage.
Okay, so
I'm not in sales, so I don't need it.
Okay, so
can I say something quickly to?
I mean, I have an answer to that, but please.
Everybody's like, let me talk. I was having a conversation with a friend who is an engineer, and she's been in her industry for almost 20 years. She just moved to a new company, right? So she has been struggling with people don't know what I know, right? And I was like, well, you have to tell them what you know. But it made me think, like, people who are like who enjoy working for someone else, who want to like build their career in these big industries, they think they don't have to be a creator, but there's always something that will stand out about you about creating. So whether that is creating and posting it on social media, or creating and sharing it with your team internally, there is a value and a benefit to being a creator. Because when we look at I think the foundational question here is, what do I want to create, right? Why am I a materials engineer? Why do I want to participate at this kind of level of the business? Why am I on social media? Why as a salesperson do I want to show up and champion this business, right? Like, why do I want to, and create around your why?
And Tracy, the research and data shows that buyers come onto social media to look for products and services. Fact. What they don't want is to talk to salespeople. Fact. Because what happens is that there's a debt of obligation. And what happens is that once you talk to the salesperson, all the salesperson does is ring you and phone you and say, when you're going to buy. So what people are looking for is they're looking for experts that are going to help them. And so the only way an organization is going to showcase their expertise for an audience that is transferred to digital and is on social media is to demonstrate that they have that expertise, not in a buy my product because we're great, but in a way of showing that expertise. You know, great example is Cyberhawk. Cyberhawk don't basically sell, they're a drones company, and what they do is that they put drones footage up, and you go, wow, I've not seen that before. How did you do that? And that's what people are looking for. And that's why we need the creator economy. We need to have people within our organization, sales, non-sales people, going out and showcasing what we do.
But to pick up on something that Tracy said, you know, so maybe it's you, Tim, about working within an organization, wanting to build your career. You know, I'm not customer facing. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. And the reason so here's an example. I was talking to a client of ours, so it's Ellen, who works for a big corporation called GP Strategies in America. I was having a conversation with her yesterday, and she now has started to post loads of videos and does a weekly LinkedIn Live on a Friday, actually. And she said that one of the really interesting things about her being much more active with her posting is that when she meets prospects or customers for the first time, or when she meets somebody, and here's the killer, when she meets somebody in her own organization, they say, oh, I kind of know you because I've been watching you on LinkedIn. So if she's going for a promotion and someone else is going for a promotion, and the person that they're talking to that's actually going to hire them internally knows her and doesn't know the other person, doesn't mean she's going to get the job, but it means she's got a huge head start on the competition. So whether or not you see yourself as a thought leader, or as a salesperson, or as a marketer, or as a tech person working behind the scenes who never interacts directly with a customer, it doesn't matter. The more famous you are, the more recognized you are, the more believable you are, the more it's going to benefit you as an individual. That's obvious.
That answers your question. No. That answers the question, Tracy. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think, you know, the internal networking is just as important as the external networking. And there's, you know, if there's this spectrum of, you know, if salespeople are the most advanced, the best at this stuff, do it most often, compared to someone that's not in a sales role that does some of it to support their objectives in business or life, then why not?
So you mentioned about fear. So Tracy, I think, you know, so what is the fear, and how do people start to overcome that? If this is a given, if the value for you is selling more stuff, getting better promoted, being more secure in your job, being more recognized, getting more speaking opportunity, whatever it is, if this is going to help you get there, what is the fear that you face that stops you from doing it, and how do you overcome that fear?
So I'm an introvert, and back in 2016. So I'm of a generation where we didn't have video. We didn't have a video camera. It's not like now where we've all got access to phones. So I needed to get over my fear of video. So I started a podcast.
I remember you saying that you had a fear of video, and the way you tackled it very head on. You said, I'm going to do as many of these as I possibly can. And now you do a huge amount of video content.
Yeah, I'm doing about 3 podcasts or 4 podcasts a week sometimes. And I'm an introvert and I'm terrified of video.
Did everybody notice the end?
Other people can do it as well, can't they?
Yeah. Because people look at me and go, "Yeah, you're Tim Hughes. You've written 3 books, but whatever." No. I'm an introvert, and it terrifies me every time I go on. I'm absolutely terrified. But the only way that I was going to get over it was to basically do it. JFDI.
I think the term is actually ambivert. Just like you're an ambidextrous, you're an ambivert. You turn it on when you need to be present. But given the choice to have some downtime and not be that outgoing extrovert, sounds like, much like myself, you appreciate that downtime too.
Yeah.
But I think this is also my argument against the whole vertness scale, right? Extrovert, introvert, ambivert, omnivert. I don't know what people are calling things these days. But like, there's some situations where you feel comfortable, and there's some situations where you don't feel comfortable. Like, I love live video. I would do shows like this all day, every day if I didn't have anything else to do. I hate pre-recorded video, because when I do pre-recorded video, I like super judge myself, and I say, oh, I shouldn't have said super judge. I should have said really judge, because that's more professional, right? And then I redo, and I have all the mental calories that I burn that I don't need to. So I do live video. I think there is a conversation here about creating in alignment with who you are. So it's not about just like being comfortable and doing nothing, but it's about getting uncomfortable in a direction that feels like you, right? Like something you would do. Like Tim does lots of interviews, right? Like I always think that interviews are in my head about highlighting the other person. So then there's less pressure on me to like be on, because that's not my job. My job is to highlight the other person.
Don't tell anybody, Tracy, because it's all about getting the other person to speak.
but these are the things, right? Like these are the things you can play with to find a creating methodology that works for you, that feels like you. And that's actually a critical component to being sustainable as a creator. Because if you're a salesperson in an organization and you don't get treated on a day-to-day basis as if you have expertise, then the likelihood of you showing up and creating content from a mindset of you being an expert, probably low. But now my business is telling me I need to create, right? So like I'm going to post every day, but I'm doing it from this mentality of I'm doing it to create. There's a big difference between creating and posting, in my opinion. But like I'm posting every day and that's creating, but I'm not doing it from a like, I feel good about this place. So I'm not really contributing as a creator because I'm not getting to create something that's unique to me. But what if there was a comment down somewhere. Robert had shared, some people don't share posts because they think their company won't like it, but to be known as an expert company, you should be a company of experts. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, you have to treat your people like experts or find what they're experts at and then like fan the fire, right? You can't just handcuff people on a phone to make 100 calls a day and be like, go show up like an expert.
Well, Adam and I had a meeting with the CEO of a social media company. They made a social media tool. You see, he's laughing. He knows which one. And we said to the CEO, we said, you know, you're a social media company, but you produce these tools, but actually you don't do social media. And he said, don't be stupid. My people know what to do. And they do it. And we said, look, you know, you haven't posted on your, you know, whatever, your company page for 4 months, whatever. And he had thought that because they're a social media company, that they would just go and do it. Because what he hadn't done was empowered them.
Or indeed educated them.
Or educated
not only please do it, but here's what you need to do.
Yeah, and how you need to do it, and these are the guardrails and stuff like that. So we should be doing it, but the problem is, it's just like diversity training or health and safety training or all of those things. What we haven't done is empowered or given people the skills in what to do and how to do it.
But I think the point that Tracy said about the staged video is really difficult. And I think that's difficult for everyone, because you end up looking like a newsreader who's not very good, because you're being very focused on what you're trying to say. And it's rather like, if you don't look like David Gandy, you know, and if you're a bloke, that is, and you don't look like David Gandy, you don't photograph very well. So, you know, when you're posing, you don't look as you want to look. But when you're talking, you do look as you want to look, because it's got all of that kind of animation and stuff in it. So getting somebody to interview you, you know, even if they're not on video, they ask you a question and you look them in the eye and you respond to them, is a great way to start to produce those videos. Now, I think it's really odd that, you know, you come on a live stream and it's being broadcast live. Anything that you say that you don't want to say is out there for everybody. And most people are pretty cool with this. Most people are pretty cool with this environment, even though it's live. But most people are scared when it's a video. You know, when they're talking to camera, they are scared, even though you can record it 1,000,000 times if you want to before you publish it. And I always think that's really odd that people are so scared by something that they can affect a change on.
But I think it's also, like, from my perspective, I had this client once who had recorded a video of himself for his website, and then he like one and then another one, and he sent me both. And he told me in the interim, he did 150 takes. 150. And I was like, I don't even know how long that would take. Like, that takes a long time, right? But so for me anyway, every single time I redo it, I judge it more harshly. And while, yes, I have the ability to go back and change it, it's detrimental to my mindset, because every time I watch it again, I think worse thoughts about myself. So then the next version isn't any better, because now I did it from a disempowered mindset instead of from an empowered mindset. And I think that's one of the things to pay attention to, is that I remember having this guy reach out to me on LinkedIn who was trying to convince me I needed to do pre-recorded video. Otherwise, my business would be a disaster. I would never have enough business. And I was like, well, I don't believe that. So thank you, but you should move on to somebody who's going to believe you. You don't need to do that. You don't have to podcast if you don't like to podcast. If you need to do something to show up, like Jordan does his amazing videos where he like redoes the words of the songs, and every time I just like sit there and I listen to the whole thing. So I'm like, what's he going to say next? Because I know the lyric, but what's Jordan going to say? Like, that's fun for me, and it seems fun for Jordan. Jordan can speak for himself. But like, when you're doing those things, it just doesn't feel like work, and you're not sitting there like judging yourself the whole time about like, is this going to be worth my time? Is it going to get someone to close? This isn't here to get someone to close. This is here to open a door to a relationship, right? This isn't about closing today. This is about opening the door to your expertise so people can come into your party and be like, oh, this is a fun party.
So how do we do that? How do we get up in front of the camera if we're an introvert, or we look at what Jordan does and say, well, there's no way I can do that? Yeah, Jensen. So
I mean, the 6 Ps really, right? It's perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance. And it's posts that I've done this week. So it's creating a posting plan. Write down the days of the week. Then next to that, write what type of post you would like to put out on that day. Then find a topic of that. Then start to write down the topic, and then you'll find that the next thing you know, you're writing about this topic in a way that you will share it with your network. So for me, I find if I prepare to my maximum, then it gives me more confidence. Because if I was to say to everyone here, right, you've got to now do a talk in front of 100 people, but there's no preparation required, go out and talk. I guarantee a lot of people will sit here and be like, well, actually, I don't know what I need to talk about. I don't know if I'm going to present it well enough. Are they even going to be listening? Where if someone said, right, take time to prepare, then do this talk to the audience, One, you're going to feel more confident. You're then going to structure how you're going to speak to the audience. You're going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a closure. And then you might ask some questions at the end to then start a conversation. So that time to prepare, for me, I find it key. Preparing each post maybe the day before. So when it hits a certain time on the day, I put the post in, I click post, and then I forget about the post for the rest of the day.
I want to pick up on what
great
Andrew shared. Andrew wrote, for beginners doing a live show, their mindset should be as simple as all you're doing is having a conversation. And I want to take that even further. Not just beginners doing a live show, but for anyone that says, well, I don't have anything to say, or what should I say? I always start with this, and I preempt that objection. I know it's coming. So before they even get to that point, before I tell them to create content regularly, I ask them, what are 3 things that you could speak about for 5 minutes or more? You don't have to be the expert. You don't have to be the preeminent expert. It could be something that everyone in your field knows. It could be not even related to your professional experience. It could be personal. But just sit down and think of, you don't even have to tell me what they are. What are 3 things that you could speak about for 5 minutes or more? And they rattle them off like that so quickly that I turn to them and say, okay, can you make that list 5 things? Oh, yeah. And now they've got the ball rolling. Okay, can you take any one of those topics and speak about them for 10 minutes or more? Yes, I can. Great. So here's what I want you to do. Get your phone and whatever voice recording app and record yourself doing that. Just do that. And from there, the ball gets rolling. The juices start flowing. And then they are having that conversation. And then they can chunk that 10 minutes into 10 weeks worth of things to say. But I didn't tell them, you need to sit down and have a 10-week content plan. I asked them to give me 3 minutes or 3 things of 5 minutes each.
Very true.
Fantastic.
I often think that the interview thing works really well because, when you look at Tim Talks being a really good example of this, Tim brings on guests, some of whom are very comfortable media savvy people, some of whom are not, some of whom have not been in front of a camera. And Tim's skill is to get them, as he said, get them talking. So, if you have a loved one that can get off camera and can say to you, ask you questions that you would normally answer. So what is it that your company actually does? And what problems does it solve? And what problems are your clients facing? Not questions about what does your product do and how do you do it and how much does it cost, but questions about the customer. And normally people are very comfortable and very able to talk about that stuff at length. Why would your customer need this service that you do? Well, actually, one of the big challenges that they seem to be all facing at the moment is this. And it fundamentally addresses that, because without that, businesses fall over. Okay, that's the basis for a fantastic little video. And everybody that's watching, if they haven't done a video, could do exactly that video. Ask yourselves that question and just answer the question.
And tag us when you post it, please. Yeah. Please tag us.
Absolutely. So I want to pick up on Robert Matson's comment. People undervalue being a chapter ahead. There are always newbies that need help. It reminds me, if I could tell a quick story. So my dad has been teaching math in public schools for over 50 years. And at my core, I'm a teacher at heart. I actually had the opportunity to teach in public schools for a brief period. And before I started, I was a little bit intimidated by it. Sound familiar? I was a little bit afraid of getting in front of the students. I mean, I knew the math, I knew the content, but he helped me with this one thought. Rob, there are 2 things that you need to know when you're going into teaching. One, you don't have to have all of the answers. You're just better off having all of the questions. And two, you don't have to know the whole book. You just have to be one chapter ahead of your students.
Yeah.
And with that, it just brought a sense of ease to the whole process. So, Robert, thank you for reminding me of that.
I have a friend who runs an Arthur Murray dance company, so it's ballroom dancing. And at one point she was looking for teachers, couldn't find teachers. And she asked me if I would come and teach there. And I was like, I don't know ballroom, right? Like I'm a dancer, but I don't know ballroom. And she's like, that's okay. I'll teach you. And then you teach the students. You just need to know more than they do. And I was like, facts. And they mostly taught people how to choreograph wedding dance.
So the question on everybody's lips, Tracy, is what kind of dancer were you? Are you?
Are you?
I'm a cardio dancer. Look it up on my profile. But I think this is and I think one of the other things is that if you are, sometimes we don't know that we're one chapter ahead, right? So I think it's important to look at, it's not about like being ahead in all things, in all places, but where are the places where you think, yeah, I am one chapter ahead and I could give some feedback similar to Rob's 3 things, right? Like, where am I one chapter ahead?
And it's not even always about being one chapter ahead. You can be on the same page as everyone else. But if you're saying it and they're reading it and agreeing with it, that's reassuring to them as well. And that's when they say, yeah, you know, I think that too. I believe that. I want to get closer to you to learn more about your thoughts on that too.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just laughing at Rob's comment about being a non-cardio dancer. Chairs are my jam. Sure, there's lots of people who like chairs better than cardio dancing. And this is kind of the point, right? Like, even in that, in stating like, I'm not this, I'm this, it gives other people the opportunity to be like, oh yeah, me too. I like chairs. I'm on team chair.
I was thinking musical chairs.
You see?
Play that
Some
as a kid.
people want to combine the two.
Or in the words of Elvis Presley, if you can't find a partner, use a wooden chair.
It's all good. I actually have, so something that has been really powerful for me on the content creation side is listening. And I wanted to share that because I think a lot of times people think I'm just supposed to sit here and have creative thoughts, right? And so I sit and then I stare at a blank page, or I stare at a blinking typing guy on my LinkedIn profile, and I'm just like, I have nothing to say. So for me, what has worked really well is like I listen in conversations and I pay attention to like what grabs my attention, and I write it down and I highlight it in pink. So I have this, pink is content in my world. So I have Post-it notes that are pink. I have a pen that is pink. I have a highlighter that is pink, so that I can like identify what's an idea for content. And it's all like, literally, this is why I enjoy having coffee chats with people as well, because I get one piece of content at least out of every conversation. So if I'm having 5 conversations a day, that's 5 pieces of content, and I can choose which one I want to post today, which one feels the most relevant for today. But that's something that I think we miss in this content creation zone, that like content has to originate from me. But for me, it almost always originates from a conversation. It might be helpful for some people.
Jordan.
Yes.
So what does content creation mean to you?
Joy, simply. What was that? Sorry.
Why is that?
That is a great question. I enjoy telling stories in outside of the box ways.
It's not an interview.
Huh?
This is not an interview, by the way.
It's an interrogation.
You've created some very innovative videos, as has Jensen. But I'm asking you the question, you've put a lot of time and effort into that. Where did you get the idea from to come up with those videos? So welcome to the funnel. If you haven't seen it, Jordan did a video of a take-up of, instead of Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses, it was Welcome to the Funnel.
I'm very easily influenced, or my mood is very easily influenced by music. So when I'm having a bit of a sort of lethargic day, I'll ensure that I'm blaring music out to try and pick my energy up. And I'll hear a lyric and I'll be like, oh, there's something in that. How can I tweak that? And then it just sort of takes over, really. The more I listen to it, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a line there. And then I'm getting ideas on how I can shoot it and bring it to life. And I mean, my background is in acting. I trained as an actor. So I think a lot of it comes from there, and being able to bring those two passions together in some sort of weird way.
When did you talk about when you first realized that was the direction you wanted to go? Because that wasn't always the direction.
What, acting?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I always wanted to be a salesperson. Ever since I was yay high, always wanted to be a salesperson. And I don't know, I can't really put my finger on where I went. Actually, no. I just always enjoyed acting. Shout out, Rob. And yeah, I think we were actually on holiday, and it came to that point where I was going to go away to university, and it was like, be responsible and go to business school, or follow the dream and go to acting school. And Alex, you were super supportive. You went, well, there's loads of transferable skills from acting to sales, not so many the other way around. So yeah, I took that leap, and now my sales career is paying its dues to the foundations that were laid at acting school.
Yeah, I thought it was further back than that. When you were in sixth form, or before sixth form, you were encouraged by a teacher to pursue.
Oh yes, yeah, I was actually. I think I must have been about 12 years old. Always loved acting, but I was a footballer through and through. Played football 6 days out of 7. And, wanted to go professional, was at an academy. One of my teachers, I sort of thought, oh, no, acting, it's for girls, because obviously I had sort of pressure from my friends. And my teacher was like, no, you need to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to that teacher now.
But it kind of built, right? You had the... Sorry, Tracy.
Sorry, go ahead, Alex. I was just going to say, this is a really great, I think another thing that can help people in their creation, moving past the fear, is to have a champion to say, no, you need to do this. No, you should say it. I say this to people all the time. I'm like, you should write that down. That's a social media post. And having that champion behind you is really helpful to get past the fear.
Yeah, definitely.
I also think it's about people seeing value in who they are and the things that matter to them. So, you, Alex, are really into Formula One. And if somebody came up to you and said, yeah, so what do you reckon to the new cars that are in the 2023 season? You've got an opinion on that. And you'd love to have a conversation with them about that thing that you're passionate about. And for Tim, it's collecting vinyl and old musical things. And for you, Jordan, it's acting. And for everybody, there's something that they're passionate about. And there are other people that share that passion. And when you put that passion out there, you draw toward you people that share your passion. And maybe those are the right people, maybe they're not, but it's a starting point for a conversation. I talk to loads of people about guitars because it's something that matters to me. And if it matters to them as well, then we've got our own little community conversation about guitars or music or Formula One or acting or fitness or whatever it is that we're talking about. And so often people forget that. They forget that it's you that I'm buying into, not the bit of software you're selling or the injection molding machine that you've invented. It's you.
And I think that comes back to the point of why, especially when we say, well, I'm not a salesperson. Earlier, we had somebody commenting, everyone is in sales. And Dan Pink wrote a great book, To Sell is Human, which essentially makes that argument. But you're not going to convince everyone that they're in sales. So if I'm not selling something, why social media? Why put myself out there? And Adam, I think you nailed it. It's about connecting with people, because whether you're selling or not, nothing happens except through and with other people. We don't live in a vacuum. We don't live in isolation. Whether I want to advance my career or simply, advance my personal life. If I want to, pick up some hobby, most often those hobbies are done in conjunction with others. Having a presence out there allows you to just connect with those that have similar ideas and values and interests. And that's, to me, as important as the selling part. It's just the connecting part.
I think, you say some people don't buy into the idea that we're all in sales, but that's because they're seeing sales as being a quota that they have to deliver. But
Right.
we are all in sales. Whether or not you're on a career development path and you're trying to get promoted, you have to sell yourself. Whether or not you're in tech and you're trying to get everybody to buy into your idea of how this particular programming code should be written, you have to sell that idea to somebody. And the more of this stuff you do, the more able you are to sell that stuff. I've got a huge following and everybody loves it when I talk about the new speedy way to do whatever, Python coding. Okay, well, that means that when I have to give an opinion on that, more people are going to believe my opinions. I'm more likely that my idea is going to be adopted. It's sales. It doesn't have a value attached to it. But
if you use the word
selling
influence instead of sales,
Yeah,
I think you might have more adoption.
Yeah.
Well, like influence economy.
Oh, damn, there we are.
Yeah.
Oh.
Boom.
It's gone quiet. We have we found out recently, even though we've been doing this for 3 years, that LinkedIn actually cut us off on the hour. If we say it's up till in the UK it's just 3 minutes to 3 in the afternoon for us, and as soon as it comes up the hour, it actually cuts us off. So we've actually had a number of things where we've let it go on for 2-3 minutes, not knowing that LinkedIn had actually cut us off.
And everyone in the audience that thought the shows weren't very good, all of the value was delivered in that last 3 minutes that unfortunately so they were great shows. No, but I mean, I think that the point of the conversation and the debate that we've had today is to say that everybody needs to create that influence around themselves. Everybody needs to put themselves out there. The worst thing that will happen is nobody will engage with your content and nobody will consume it. The next worst thing that can happen is you meet loads of interesting people and some of them become your friends. That's great. The best thing that happens is you sell loads of stuff or influence loads of people or get people to buy into your way of doing something. All of those things are of value. But if you don't tell people who you are and what you want, how can you expect people to give you what you want? The old saying, you don't ask, you don't get. You need to put out there what you're expecting to get. And then potentially, some of that might come your way. But at the very least, you'll draw towards you people that share your view of the world, which is a really powerful thing.
In the last minute, is there any particular subjects that the audience would like us to cover? Whether it's taking this subject on about or any other particular areas in social media or leadership, or trying to think what other areas that we cover. I'd be really interested to get some feedback in terms of future shows, and sometimes it takes 20-30 seconds for it okay.
And along those lines, we're also interested in having guests.
Yeah.
If you are interested in being a guest, or somebody that might be interested in being a guest, go to digitaldownload.live and click on the Be Our Guest at the top banner. And we have a form there that potential guests can fill out.
And also, you can join our LinkedIn group, the Digital Download.
Yeah.
We're everywhere.
Wow.
And also, I was just going to add, if anyone has any questions or wants any help, all of our inbox is open, so feel free to fire a message to any of us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jensen.
So, thank you to the panel. Thank you to Rob for being technical host today, and for most of all for everybody in the audience. So this was the Digital Download. Rob?
The longest running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live.
See you next
Have a good week,
time.
everyone.